Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here to ask a question based on our discussions. This is an ongoing discussion we're having about the nature of the recording industry in the classical music realm and what is going on with, we just talked about Deutsche Grammophon's dreadful release of, for example, the Barenboim Franck Symphony in D minor, or Sony doing Thielmann's wretchedly recorded Bruckner symphonies with the Vienna Philharmonic. I mean, we're talking about recordings that shouldn't be made, that have terrible sound, that don't seem to show any kind of guiding principle behind the label's ability to have an image, a brand, a program, a something that shows that there's a direction that they're taking and somebody who's in charge of that direction. It's a mess. So the question I want to ask, and I actually was delighted when we were talking about the engineering aspect, how many people in the industry, actual like record producers, chimed in on this and had wonderful comments. I mean, I do hope you read the comments, because they're much more interesting than what I had to say quite often, and far better informed. I mean, I just have questions. Those people had answers. That was really impressive. So I want to talk about a broader question, which is, why are major labels making records at all anymore? I mean, they don't have to. There's no reason that they have to if they can't afford to do it correctly. Because one thing we've learned, and I think it's unquestionably true, is that as far as orchestral recordings go, but even when it comes to chamber music and other things, it's very easy these days for somebody to set up a couple reasonably decent microphones and have their little digital recording devices and make a record anywhere. I mean, they could do it in the bathroom. Sometimes it sounds like they are doing it in the bathroom. I mean, it's easy. And artists, of course, are self-producing things, and someone has to pay for the cost of production because the record labels don't have the money to do it, or they won't invest the money because they know that they'll never recoup whatever investment they make. And if they're not going to recoup whatever investment they make, then why are they making any investment at all? Who are they fooling? Who are they trying to think? Oh, it's a Deutsche Grammophon recording. It's a Sony classical recording. Unless someone else is paying for it, and someone else is paying for it in spades. I mean, the cost of production, hiring the orchestra, hiring the hall, hiring the engineers, packaging and presentation, distribution over a expansive period of time. So we're talking a lot of money. Why even bother with a major label? Why would they bother with the production? They're never going to make their money back. And the truth of the matter is that as many orchestras now, I mean, Boston and Chicago and all these other, San Francisco, and then all the European orchestras, Bavarian Radio and the LSO and Berlin, and they're all doing it themselves. So they don't need major labels anymore, especially if the principal medium is going to be streaming. I mean, who cares who you're streaming it from? You just set up your own website where you can stream your own stuff. I mean, everyone has now these digital concert halls and things like that. I mean, there's just no reason for a record label. So what is their purpose now? What right do they have to exist? Well, I have a thought. I mean, of course I have a thought. I have some suggestions. First of all, they should just stop. Completely and utterly stop. And they shouldn't produce anything that's new unless it's entirely paid for to be produced, to be done and sold and marketed in a first-class way. Because we don't need this junk. We don't need this crap that people are subsidizing and paying for and that gets done, recorded live or in a half-assed kind of way, and then packaged cheaply, and you stamp the labels thing on it and say, it's a Deutsche Grammophon product. It's an embarrassment. It's an embarrassment because we all know what they have. We all know what their catalog is. And so there is a time, I think, or the time is fast approaching, when we need to simply bite the bullet and say the economics have changed. The circumstances of performance have changed. The media of distribution and audience access and sales, it's all changed. It's become digitized or whatever it's becoming, if that's what it is. And what they should do, it seems to me, is simply curate their existing catalogs, because these existing catalogs are huge. They're enormous. And there was always a fetish in the classical music world for what's the latest stuff that's coming out? What are they going to advertise? What are they pushing? Modern artists need to have a presence, in the public. Well, they should have a presence, frankly, but record labels may not be the way to do it anymore. I mean, there will always be some really important major artists who have huge name recognition, but that's not happening through their association with record labels. It's the other way around. The record labels are trying to survive based on the name recognition that the artists have already acquired through performing arts organizations or their management or whatever it is. However they're doing it, the labels are relying on the artists, not the other way around. So the real issue is what should they do with these enormous back catalogs? We see them releasing boxes and boxes of stuff, everybody's edition of everything, and just thousands and thousands of recordings that they made over the past, over decades. And so the real issue, if they're going to exist at all, as I think an ongoing economic enterprise is going to be, to repackage and resell what they already have. But what's good, what's really good, because it's good. Now, that means, frankly, that the organization itself is going to have to downsize hugely. I mean, Deutsche Grammophon, as an existing catalog-driven operation, could be entirely managed internationally by, half a dozen people, maybe less, as long as they know what they're doing. That's a big caveat. As long as they know what's in their catalog and how to package it, sell it, and market it, or creative ways to package it and sell it and market. But they don't even have to do it that frequently. They're always churning the catalog, reselling the same stuff. It would be very nice for them to, first of all, sit down and say, okay, the Japanese marketplace actually offers a very interesting comparison, because if you look at the Japanese way that the major labels have their catalogs organized, you find Decca Best 100, DG Best 300. They have all of these different series that have a limited number of releases, and that they're all the best something or other, but it's a fairly hefty number, and that's how they handle reissues. But that's the general idea, I think, which is to get in there, find a wonderful series of recordings of some limited number, and release them and keep them available and sell and market them and promote them. Because nobody cares, quite frankly, who most of today's big artists are. I mean, they really don't. Nobody's lining up. Even someone like Yuja Wang or somebody like, the Klaus Mekela, Flavors of the Month, artists. Nobody's lining up to grab their records. They may download or stream a whole pile of them, who knows, but that's not where your profit margin is. If you're going to do physical product at all, and I like I said, I like physical product. I think there's a market for physical product. I really do. But it has to be packaged and sold correctly. And Sony and RCA and Universal group of labels and the Warner group of labels, they're just sitting on mountains of material that they don't know what to do with. And not only is it a mountain of material that they don't know what to do with, but it's better than 99.9% of the stuff that they're releasing today. Not because the artists are worse, but because the artists and the record labels no longer have that synergistic relationship where the record label allows them to do their best work on the label, through the label, to reach the public that way. That isn't what's happening anymore. What happens is that they give a performance, somebody records it, and they hawk it to the label. They sell it to the label or license it to the label. I mean, Barenboim, who did that dreadful Franck stuff, his past few releases, he owns them. He owns them and he licenses them to DG. His Schumann symphonies were licensed to DG. They're made in connection with a video or something else, and everything gets, nobody owns anything, and most of it's not worth owning because it has no actual value. So my suggestion, and I'd be curious to get your take on this too, is that these people just stop for a while, take a deep breath. Maybe they'll release a couple discs a year or a month, very little, very little. They don't have to, and then see how to monetize what they already have. Because if you're going for quality, then you have to recognize that what they're doing now does not match the quality of what they've already done, and the circumstances that allowed them to create these fabulous recordings of superb quality with the best artists no longer exist. You don't have exclusive relationships between artists and labels. You don't have the kind of money that allows labels to record orchestras under ideal studio conditions. You don't have chamber ensembles that are doing large, interesting projects aside from like Beethoven quartet cycles, of which there are 20 a month that they've just completely canceled each other out. There's so much of that stuff coming, or these partnerships between, violinists and pianists, or cellists and pianists, or that can pursue a project over a period of years in time to develop the kind of cachet, the kind of name recognition that the classical music business requires, because sales are so small and because the profit margins are squeezed. No one has the time necessary to make the economic investment. And so I really believe that the best thing they could do is to just reissue stuff and forget about today's artists completely. Those artists, they don't need the labels. They'll find ways to get their stuff out there. There's no question about that. And maybe at some point they can say, oh, we have all these resources. If we survey what's been issued, if there's someone who's really that good, maybe one of those people or two of those people could return to a major label for some purpose or for some specific project. I don't know. All I know is that what they have is better than what they're doing. And so if that's the case, they should adjust their strategy accordingly and recognize the reality. Will they do that? Oh, of course not, because they have all of this institutional inertia and all these people who have no other reason to exist but to try and serve today's artists so that they remain relevant and contemporary. Well, I'd rather that they remain good rather than issuing all this crap. I really, really believe that. It's just doing nobody a favor to slowly whittle away at their brand image, at their quality, their reputation for quality, by issuing junk because they just don't have the control over it. They don't have the funds to take control of all of these projects that they claim to be doing. I'm about to listen to the Yuja Wang, Andras Nelson's Tarangalela Symphony, which hasn't even been issued yet as physical product. I downloaded it so that I could hear it. And, I'm hoping it's pretty good. I should be, but the point of the matter is, it used to be that releases like that were big deals. And now what are they? They have no physical existence, and they don't get promoted at all. And these are the major artists, the big artists. And they're not getting any kind of excitement or anything. So why are they doing it? I don't know. I really am shocked that I would be in a position after all of my years in this business to say, just stop. They're not achieving anything, but they're not. That's how I feel about it. So let me know what you think. Keep on listening, friends, and thanks for joining me. Take care.